Let's move on. Let's go to West Africa now. Let's go to Arafat. What can African countries do to have democratic and peaceful transfers of power, especially in light of the elections? We are still waiting for the outcome of those elections in Nigeria and Senegal.
First of all, you need to have a situation where you do have an environment that allows the important thing that is called choice. People need to have at least the ability, the confidence that in fact they can choose people who are eventually going to be their leaders. In other words, an election should be an election, not a selection. It should be an election which is controlled by an electoral commission that is independent, that is free, not basically subordinate to a government of the day or subordinate to the chief executive, which is headed by a president or which is headed by a prime minister. It should be an election commission that is answerable to the people of its particular country. And therefore, at the end of the day, that electoral commission should be able to come up with results which reflect the will of the people who actually went and cast their votes, not the will of the individual eventually who announces the results or reflects the individuals who actually count the vote. That's part of the problem on the African continent. I don't think we can have more than 15 countries, sincerely, where you actually have genuine elections. You have situations where most of the countries on the continent, most of those, you have a situation which favors the incumbent. The incumbent government conducts an election, competes against people whose hands are tied behind their backs and their legs are tied together, and they are expected, when they are punched, to punch back. How can you do that?
Are you suggesting that most of the elections that take place, for example, the election that just took place in Nigeria or Senegal, you're looking at a Stalin kind of where it doesn't matter who shows up to vote, but what matters is who counts the vote? Because you have so many complaints from Nigeria. People are saying that this election could be rigged. Not so much in Senegal, but at least in Nigeria, people are worried.
As a matter of fact, this time around, even in Senegal, there are problems because there are certain candidates, including the former popular mayor of Dakar, who was expected, at least by his supporters, to be a formidable candidate who could probably even make it, in fact, to State House in Dakar. He has not had the opportunity to stand. But when it comes to Nigeria, it's very unfortunate because, let's face it, you're talking about the most populous nation on the African continent. You're also talking about a country that is so blessed. It is the largest oil exporter out of Africa.
Another Venezuela of
Another
sorts.
Venezuela of sorts in the context of Africa. This country has some of the most educated, some of the smartest minds on this planet Earth, not just Africa, on planet Earth. If you talk about Hollywood, we just went through the rituals of the Oscars and what have you. You have Nollywood. When it comes to movies, it comes to music, entertainment, and what have you, you talk about Nigeria. You talk about the land of the Oga Pata Pata. When you go to Lagos, you can't imagine what's going on there because it's very difficult for you to negotiate the infrastructure. So the thing is, Nigeria, for example, it has spent out of more than 60 years of independence, because the last time I checked, I think it got actual independence in 1960. Most of the time during that period, it has actually been ruled by soldiers through military coups. There was a very unfortunate civil war that gave the birth of Biafra. She lived very, temporarily. Now, when you look at the elections in Nigeria, each time you have an election, it is not really a celebration. It's just an opportunity for mourning because people actually get killed. And as we talk, even in this particular election, even though there are fewer people, according to reports, that have actually lost their lives,
right,
you still have had at least 47 people who have actually been killed since Saturday. And that is actually the day when the Nigerians went to the polls. And since October last year, Paul, when campaigns actually started, there are more than 250, they are actually in the neighborhood of 260, who have actually been killed. Just as a result, really, of being given supposedly the opportunity to exercise their democratic choice. We don't need those types of elections.